recap. Sorry for the late post. It's been a rough week, but I promised myself no matter what, I was going to post content weekly. So here it is. Even though week 5 is around the corner, hopefully you'll still tune in and get something from week 4's recap. So we'll start from the top. Basically with me, week 4, the theme continued. What's been going on is a lot of close games, and that continued for sure in week 4. There were like 3 or 4 overtime games, and definitely some close like last minute wins, that didn't go into overtime, but they just like won in the last minute or seconds. So that was really exciting to watch. Also, I think we're seeing like with all these overtime games, like the new rules with the overtime really go into full effect. And we're really seeing like different type of gameplay and game strategy and planning in overtime. So, which is really exciting to watch because you don't want to see teams end in ties. Nobody wants that. So like you're seeing like aggressive play and aggressive play calling. So it's been real fun to watch that. People are going for it on 4th down in a situation where they could have punted, and then sometimes they suffer because of it. And sometimes, it turned out okay for them. So we definitely saw a lot of that this week, and it was definitely some very close, interesting games. But let's start from the top with one of the other close games, which we all know who is going to win. But Thursday Night Football, Vikings versus Rams. What a game. We thought this was going to be an offensive showing, which it pretty much was. Honestly, Kirk Cousins and his receivers were really good per usual. But it's just that Goff and his trio were perfect, as they have been. But let's just start with the fact that Anthony Barr has been a huge mismatch that Goff obviously continued to capitalize and pick on all night. He's been a mismatch in other games as well. Like, I don't know what they're doing on defense with the Vikings. At one point they were strong. I don't know what's going on. And then you have a veteran like Xavier Rhodes, getting a holding call and a big play and then kicking flags and more flags on top of that. And it's just like, not necessary. You put them with those flags and unnecessary conduct, sportsmanlike conduct. You put the Rams in their territory, which led them to a 47 touchdown pass. It's like, come on, bro. Like, you're a vet. You should do better. Be better. Like, I understand y'all may be frustrated with what's going on in y'all's defensive unit, because I would be too, considering y'all have basically fallen off the map. I mean, the Vikings defense has allowed 20 plus points in 3 straight games this season. It's the first time since 2016, so they're not used to this. So anyways, but let's get back to where the credit is due. Like I said, Kirk Cousins did a great job. His receivers did a great job as well. I mean, he threw 36 of 50 for 422 yards, 3 touchdowns. There was really no rushing game from Cook. They pretty much shut that down on the Rams defense with the defensive front. But Adam Thielen and Diggs were both over 100, 8 for 135 and a touchdown for Thielen, and 11 for 123 for Diggs. But like I said, Goff and his crew were perfect. What did you expect? I was thoroughly impressed. He has accuracy out of this world. Not once did a wide receiver have to adjust in motion or on the run and like adjust to his bad throws or like at all, period, to make the catch. He literally had perfect placement. I mean, just like every time. Unbelievable performance by Goff.
Look at the Rams about to take the field, and there comes number 16. Goff floats Cup downfield. What a throw! Touchdown Rams!
I can't say enough about the performance of Jared Goff tonight.
Going for the whole thing. Cooks. Touchdown! LA!
First and goal from the 5 for the Rams. Warner looking for the end zone again. He's got a wide open King. He's got it. Touchdown!
A minute and a half to go. Quarter number 3. Seam throw. Woods. Touchdown! It's been a game of big plays here tonight in LA.
First and 10 from the 45, and Warner going back for more. He got Isaac Bruce wide open. He'll go in again. His 4th touchdown of the day.
And that's just a great pass by Kurt Warner.
Jared Goff, his 5 touchdown passes, ties a Rams record.
I'm just trying to be the best player I can be every play, and tonight we made some plays, and it feels good to ultimately win.
So as you just saw in the clip, there's a very strong argument that if his play continues at this rate, he is definitely holding a strong argument for becoming the league's MVP this season. I mean, the guy is the first quarterback with at least 33 pass attempts and a perfect quarterback rating of 158. He's a second player with 400 plus yards, 5 touchdowns, and perfect passer rating since 1950. Okay, like, that's crazy. For the night, though, he was 26 of 33, 465 yards, 5 touchdowns with a perfect, like I said, quarterback rating of 158.3. He's thrown no interceptions in 3 consecutive 300-yard games, which with 4 touchdowns just in the first half tonight, and that's the first time since Warner in 1999. He has 3 wide receivers over 100 and Gurley over 100 total yards. Cooper Kupp was 9 of 162 yards with 2 touchdowns. That was his personal career best as well. Brandon Cooks with 7 catches, 116 yards and a touchdown. Robert Woods with 5 catches, 111 yards and a touchdown. And Gurley, like I said, his total yards well over 100. He had 4 for 73 on receiving and a touchdown, and 17 of 83 for rushing. So those definitely an offensive field day. Let's not forget about the defensive front and Aaron Donald, okay? Sue and Franklin as well bringing the heat. They had no answer for Donald when he went off. He was bull rushing through double coverages. So the defense as a whole, and of course defensive front particularly, held this team to 54 yards rushing. Dalvin Cook was an absent non-factor. Safety Josh Johnson led the team with tackles with 11 tackles and 2 pass deflections, followed by Littleton with 9 tackles, 1 for a loss and 2 pass deflections. Aaron Donald had 5 tackles, 2 for a loss, 2 sacks, and 4 quarterback hits. The Rams secondary struggled mightily to slow down one of the best wide receiver duos in the league in Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. The main culprits and victims of this were Sam Shields and Marcus Peters, who actually was just coming off injury, so we'll give them a little slack. But they were left in the coverage that was open often. The starting corners were responsible for coverage on all 3 Vikings touchdowns and were clearly the Achilles in the Rams defense, which otherwise is very strong. So hopefully they can get that under control. The Rams have scored 33 plus in each game this season. So like I said, guys, they are pretty much unstoppable, and we need to watch out for them. Like, this is the team to watch out for. Not many think that they're beatable, including them themselves. I appreciate the confidence, and here's a clip of all the excitement with the Rams offense in week 4.
For the Los Angeles Rams of golf with time. Touchdown, Gurley.
37 yards in that one. Play action to him. Goff floats Kupp downfield. What a throw! Cooper Kupp. Goodbye. Touchdown Rams. By Mackenzie Alexander. Cooks might have gotten away with a false start there. They didn't throw the flag. Now in the end zone. Kupp! Come on! Touchdown Rams! Ball game tonight. First down, LA going for the whole thing. Cooks. Touchdown! LA! Brandon Cooks.
So as you can see, guys, that offense is explosive, and they are going to be a force to reckon with. Very hard to stop. Teams are going to be up all night trying to defensively scheme for them. However, let's get into the next game. Patriots versus Dolphins. Patriots defense definitely showed up, and I think was the difference in this game and what they needed to have show up. They stopped the run and the passing game for the Dolphins, who were previously on fire. They were unable to find any success down the field. They allowed only 172 yards. Miami had 6 offensive possessions that led to 5 punts and 1 fumble and a high snap that led to a white touchdown. So they clearly capitalized on our takeaways, which, by the way, was our first takeaway. I say our because I lived in Miami so long. Sorry, that's habit. Was their first takeaway in the last 2 games and only 5 this season. So, like I said, the offense just couldn't get things going whatsoever. There was no rhythm. Tannehill struggled the entire time. He was so ineffective that they even replaced him with Brock Osweiler at the end of the game, who actually ended up getting their only touchdown pass of the game. Penalties and turnovers were a huge highlight for Miami that became very costly in this game. They were shut out 24-0 at half. I mean, it was just really ugly for them. And to be honest, Tom Brady wasn't exactly perfect. He didn't need to be, though, because his defense, like I said, really stepped up. So he just had to get out there and, do a little bit. But their defense was really what was the powerhouse this game. And honestly, the Dolphins' defense, which was previously pretty strong, didn't really necessarily show up today. And, I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick, he had a decent amount of tackles, but, there was really just not that much pressure going on for Brady and not enough to get the job done. They weren't creating. I mean, they had 2 interceptions in Bobby McCain and Minka Fitzpatrick, But like I said, they couldn't capitalize on anything their defense even tried to do because the offense just was not clicking. So it was a real struggle. It was very hard to watch. I turned it off at halftime personally. But back to the Patriots offense, he didn't do much in the air, but he didn't really need to. He has the Sony Michel and James White thing going on, and they are definitely a duo tandem to look out for. They're creating very hard situations for people to cover. I mean, they're almost untackleable. They're just little quickie speed guys. And Sony Michel, he's finally having a little breakout game. He was 25 carries for 112 yards and a touchdown. James White, of course, doing his thing, 44 yards rushing and a touchdown, and 8 of 68 receiving and a touchdown. James White caught all 8 of his targets for 3 first down conversions and a touchdown and a rushing touchdown. He did really well, and if they can continue to do that, it's going to be really hard to stop them. I mean, Gronk was pretty much absent. He didn't do much. I mean, with them two alone, it's going to be hard to watch. I mean, stop. And also, shout out to Patterson finally getting his first touchdown since 2016. That's another very fast guy, and if he can get clicking with Brady, that's a wrap too. But on to the next game, Cowboys versus Lions. Honestly, the Cowboys win this one in a close one. I got to give them credit for pulling it off. Honestly, Stafford did about just as much a quarterback could do without winning. He completed 24 of 30 passes for 307 yards and 2 touchdowns. But in a game that he did not have a turnover on either side, Ezekiel's excellence simply just proved too much to be stopped by Detroit. And Golden Tate's touchdowns were pretty impressive, although he did have that one running high-stepping touchdown that led to a penalty. He was 8 of 132, 2 touchdowns on the game. Ezekiel was doing his thing. He had 240 yards from scrimmage. I mean, as Ezekiel goes, so the Cowboys go. And a 1-2 start to the season, Dallas had given Ezekiel Elliott an average of just 16 carries a game. And then the team's offense only averaged 13 points a game, which I touched on in previous recaps, that getting Zeke the ball is more essential for this team, especially at a point where they don't have much receiving core going on. So clearly they finally got the picture, and this week they seem to remember that he is a dangerous weapon, and they're using him. They put the ball in his hands 29 times, 25 carries, and 4 receptions, and being rewarded with 240 yards from scrimmage, guys, including a clutch 34-yard reception in the final minutes to set up the Cowboys' go-ahead field goal win. Here's a clip of Ezekiel's running.
Here is Elliott, gonna run. Good hole. Elliott with a speed. Ezekiel Elliott out of bounds. Cool, but that's not the case. It's a penalty, and it's a big one. And now they're going to set it up to Elliott. Tries to get to the edge. Just so. Ezekiel Elliott on his way. Diving. Touchdown.
So impressive running from Ezekiel. He pretty much threw the team on his back and got that win for them, which I'm very impressed with. But they still have some things to figure out on offense with the receiving core for sure. On to the next game, Packers versus Bills. Complete shutout there. Aaron Rodgers, he's still playing with a difficult knee injury and is hardly at his best, with completing just 22 of 40, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. But Green Bay's defense made things a little easier by intercepting the rookie quarterback Josh Allen twice. Jair Alexander, the rookie, claiming one of those interceptions, and HaHa Dix with the other interception. Much of the Packers' success arose from the immense amount of pressure that they put on Allen. The first-round pick was sacked 7 times, 3 times by Kyler Fackrell, and was hit 11 other times. Green Bay's first shutout since 2010. Honestly, I think the X factor offensively was to utilize Jones at running back. They hadn't really used him much, and I think they need to continue to, give him more carries. Aaron Rodgers was being tough even with injury, honestly, even though he didn't play so great. He was extending plays, running and sliding, even on his brace. So kudos to him for that. This is the most yards since 2016 season for Green Bay. The Bills receivers struggled to get open for the majority of the game, and Josh Allen just basically struggled to get them the ball as well. Most incompletions by a Bills quarterback since 1998. Another ugly game. But let's go on to another surprisingly amazing offensive performance by a quarterback that we still haven't decided whether he's consistently going to do this week in and week out, because we haven't seen it yet. But he has these flashes of greatness. And you know who I'm talking about. With the Bears versus Bucs, Trubisky came into the game with just 2 touchdown passes all season. He was the model of efficiency this game, completing 19 of 26 passes for 354 yards. His touchdown passes were distributed to 5 different receivers. He finished one short of the NFL record for touchdown passes in a game, and a record that was initially set in 1943. And he even tied for the team lead in rushing with 53 yards on just 3 carries. Trubisky having a field day picking apart a hurt Bucs secondary, for sure. He had 6 touchdowns, most by a Bear ever, and to 5 different receivers. Like I said, 5 of his 14 completions in the first half were touchdowns. Let me repeat that. 5 of his 14 completions in the first half were touchdowns. Pretty much 50%. Close enough. Cohen and Gabriel had an impressive performance on offense. Cohen with 174 total yards, 53 rushing, 7 for 121 receiving with 1 touchdown. And Gabriel, 7 of receiving with 104 yards and 2 touchdowns. K-Mac, of course, doing his thing, forcing a fumble and sack again. He's recorded one of each in each game this season. He's continuing to do things only he does. He forced a fumble on a strip sack and caused a second interception as Winston was getting hit as he thrown. Fitzmagic fizzled out, which I pretty much figured would eventually happen when faced with a real defense with real pressure. And Winston is clearly the starter going forward. The Bucs struggled to match up with the Bears' pass rush, and they just struggled to move the ball in the face of pressure. So we'll see what's going on with the Bucs going forward, but they clearly at this point can't handle pressure. So here's a highlight of the game, and kudos, massive kudos to Trubisky and the crew for getting it done.
Play action, looking for a wide open receiver, and it's a touchdown for Trey Burton. This is where the Bears have really struggled, inside the red zone. Lofted to the back of the end zone, no struggles today. A second touchdown, this one to Robinson. Shotgun, Trubisky, and a touchdown to Cohen. Where he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles a year ago, but has been pretty much a backup his entire career. And another open Bear. This one is Joshua Bellamy. And they get it to Gabriel, who finds the end zone. 3rd down and goal. They try the same play again, and this time a touchdown to Taylor Gabriel.
What an exciting offensive performance. I'm sure the Chicago fans are real excited about what they see over there, because if he can continue to perform like that, their defense is already strong. And there's not many teams this year where both sides are strong, like the Rams defense and offense clicking, both strong. Chicago, if they can get their offense clicking, I mean, they're going to be balanced. There's a lot of teams that are lopsided. Their defense is either hurt or struggling when their offense is on fire, or like the Jags, where their defense is strong, but Bortles sometimes decides to show up, you know? So anyways, going forward, Bengals versus Falcons. Cincinnati wins a close one at Atlanta. Ooh, I know they're hurting over there. Offensive showout for sure. Neither defense was really impressive. While much improved in the second half, the inability of the defensive unit for Atlanta to consistently get pressure continues to make it too easy for opportunistic quarterbacks to get into rhythm. Sanu and Jones eclipsed both 100 yards, Sanu with 6 of 111, and Jones with 9 and 173 yards, which I think is interesting that Julio Jones leads the league in receiving yards, but he does not have a touchdown yet. Like, how do you lead the league in receiving yards and you haven't managed to get in the end zone? That's kind of embarrassing a little bit, in my opinion. Anyways, Ridley, another rookie with a great performance, had 2 touchdowns this game. He has had 6 on the season so far. This is really interesting, guys. Calvin Ridley has had 6 touchdowns on the season this far. That is more than Antonio Brown, Gronkowski, Keenan Allen, Odell Beckham Jr., Julio Jones, Larry Fitzgerald, and Ertz combined have on the season so far. That's crazy. He is definitely somebody to watch out for. He's impressive. He gave us hell at LSU when he was at Bama. And he just has a way of shifting, and like he's just real good and fluid runner after the receiving. He's great with like yards after contact, you know. But let's focus more on the Bengals and their impressive performance as well. Bengals scored on all 4 of their first quarter drives. AJ Green, of course, getting the winning clutch touchdown pass. And, you know, much of the praise will rightfully go to AJ Green, but Tyler Boyd, who came up in the clutch numerous times when the Bengals needed him this game, His development into a hard-to-cover weapon who can operate pretty much anywhere along the line has been a huge bonus for this offense. So let's not take that away from him. He finished with 11 receptions, 100 yards versus A.J. Green's 4 receptions, 78 yards. So you got to give him credit as well. As far as Atlanta goes, listen to this statistic. Since 1940, teams scoring 36-plus points at home with no turnovers were 402 wins to 2 losses before the last 2 weeks. After the Falcons' misadventures in Week 3 and Week 4, those teams are now 402 wins and 4 losses. They've contributed to that small margin of losses when you're ahead with that many points and lose at home. That's crazy. They've got to figure it out. That's just ridiculous. You should not be losing in these types of games at home. But on to the next. Texans versus Colts. Another close one. This is our overtime game. So the Texans won a close one in overtime. The Indianapolis Colts made some really bizarre choices to go for it on 4th and 4 from their own 43-yard line in the final minute of overtime. And this decision immediately backfired as the Texans completed one pass and then kicked a 37-yard field goal to secure the 37-34 victory. Chester Rogers did well in a 2-minute drill with a catch and 2-point conversion, but dropped a huge one for 4th down conversion in overtime. Lots of drop balls, period, by all the receivers in this game. Luck was putting it out there, and they just couldn't come down with it. Adam Vinatieri, congrats to him. He recorded the most field goals in NFL history with 672. This was another great, excellent showing from the rookie linebacker Darius Leonard, defensively speaking, for the Colts. This South Carolina State product has previously collected 33 solo tackles, 16 run stops, 2 sacks, and 2 pass defenses during his first 3 NFL games, becoming a vital component within an extremely young defense in the Colts. Leonard racked up a double-digit tackles along with another sack during overtime in this loss. So I'm still seeing you out there, buddy. Like, keep doing your thing. Get the guys around you to be great, and you'll be fine. He's definitely, Pro Bowl player, and as his rookie year. It's crazy. Watson to Hopkins was an impressive thing to watch this game, with Hopkins ending with 10 receptions, 169 yards, and a touchdown. And Jadeveon Clowney with the fumble recovery touchdown, and J.J. Watt, 2 strip sacks and lots of pressure. So their defense showed up for sure as well. Deshaun Watson, let's talk about him for a second. Honestly, his composure throughout the game, because he did have a couple of turnovers, to still keep that composure and not let it emotionally get to you and just continue to push and will your team to the win for a close one in overtime was very impressive for me, as he's still a young quarterback. After the Will Fuller injury, he went out, and Watson was pretty much forced to find a second option in the passing game. And their 4th-round selection out of Texas Tech, Kiki Coty, answered this call very easily, setting career highs across the board. Coty became an integral part of their offense and a key component to this game. Coty ended with 11 receptions and 109 yards, which before Fuller went out, he actually was doing pretty well with 4 receptions and 49 yards and a touchdown. So impressive performance for the Texans, offensively and defensively speaking. Kudos to them. On to the next game, Titans versus Eagles. Titans won a close one in overtime. Marcus Mariota, coming off injury, had a great performance. He managed the pocket well under pressure, finding the open receiver and hitting some really tight windows. He even extended some important plays. He was 30 for 43, 344 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He had 10 attempts at rushing for 46 yards and a rushing touchdown, and he converted a 4th and 15. Very impressive. Tennessee goes for it on 4th and 2nd instead of tying the game with a field goal. Dion Lewis got a nice run to set up the first down. An aggressive drive to win the game. Lots of credit to their coach. This is kind of what I was speaking about with the overtime wins and how it's pushing some people to get tricky and do different types of game planning. So I appreciate and respect their aggressive approach and not settling for the field goal in the tie and going for the touchdown. That was really fun to watch. Dion Lewis's ability to make defenders miss allowed the Titans to turn some short passes into some seriously chunky gains, helping them sustain some drives in the second half and overtime. First career touchdown for Corey Davis to win the game in overtime. Big shout out to him for that. He was 9 of 161 yards, career best game for him. The coverage was on that one game-winning touchdown in overtime was McLeod's replacement, because he's now out on injury, so they're clearly missing him already, and resulted in a loss right there. As far as the Eagles go, welcome back Alshon Jeffrey. He had a great touchdown catch. He goes up and gets it every time. He had 8 receptions for 105 yards and a touchdown. Zach Ertz was a threat at exploiting the middle of the field, consistently finding holes in the zones between the young Titans linebackers. D. Carter on special teams brought up from practice squad, whoop, whoop, with a huge 42-yard return to set up the Eagles' initial comeback. I did notice that. I see you. Keep it up. But as far as Eagles defense, primarily the secondary had a horrible game. They missed at least 10 tackles. Except Malcolm Jenkins had a pretty decent game. He made some very important stops, but he also had a huge defensive holding in the end zone in overtime. So, Eagles are still figuring it out. Much credit to the Titans and the coaching staff on finding a way to win in that game. It was very impressive to watch. Next game, Jaguars versus the Jets. Bortles is back on track. Good day for him. Blake Bortles was efficient in throwing 2 touchdown passes, including a 67-yarder to Dante Moncrief, and the Jacksonville Jaguars used a dominant defense performance to handle the Jets. What did you expect? Bortles ended up with a career-high 388 yards passing. He tapped his 375 yards for the second time in 3 games. D.D. Westbrook with an amazing performance, 9 receptions, 130 yards, and Dante Moncrief with 5 receptions, 109 yards, and a touchdown. The defense smothered the Jets with 3 sacks and almost 3 picks. Gibson's was called back, and Ramsey and Bowie dropped really close ones that would have been interceptions. Honestly, Fournette, we're going to miss him. He just, re-injured his strained hamstring, so hate to see him go out. But luckily, they can still get a win without him. I think he needs to maybe, really safely and thoroughly heal that before coming back. Maybe he rushed back. I don't know, but prayers to him. Hopefully he can get better. The Jets have got to figure something out. I mean, they have got to figure it out. They are just really struggling. As stated before, if Bortles can continue to show up like this consistently, because it's like 1 week he flashes greatness, then he's back to his questionable self, and then he flashes greatness again like this week. So if that can stay consistent, just as in the same thing with Chicago's Trubisky, these teams are dangerous going forward. On to the next game, Browns versus Raiders, another overtime exciting game. The Raiders win a close one in overtime, getting their first win. Through 3 weeks, the team had struggled to return yards into points, but that was not a problem against Cleveland. Derek Carr threw 437 yards, 4 touchdowns, and Conley, the rookie, had a defensive pick 6. Lynch was running mad for the false call on being called down when really he wasn't, which probably would have been a touchdown. He was running like crazy. He had 20 carries for 130 yards. And the numbers just don't tell the story of how hard this man runs. At this point in his career, it's like, is this 2014? Who is this guy? How is he still running like this? Amari Cooper, impressive performance, 8 receptions, 128 yards and a touchdown. Jared Cook, 8 receptions, 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. So like I said, offensively, they were clicking. Defense did enough as far as the pick 6. That's a huge defensive play. Probably still some work that needs to be done in the pass rush and pass, defensive front for Oakland. As far as the Cleveland goes, I mean, Baker Mayfield isn't perfect yet. He's going to show us flashes of brilliance. He's still a rookie. He had some ill-advised throws that turned into 4 turnovers and a huge overtime loss. But big shout out to Chubb in his rookie debut. He had 3 carries for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. And we'll see some impressive runs from him later. Also, Jarvis Landry with an amazing touchdown catch. What do you expect? These guys' hands are crazy. Defensively for Cleveland, I thought that Myles Garrett looked like a number 1 overall pick out there in Oakland. Definitely a handful for the left side of Oakland's offensive line all afternoon, both in the running game and the pass rushing game. Garrett came close to double-digit stops in this one and was able to tally a sack in addition to a handful of pressures. It was rough for the Cleveland secondary as an entire unit, which typically wasn't the case because we were seeing Denzel Ward doing great, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but it was an exciting, close game, and, they'll learn and move forward. I don't think there's anything to worry about in Cleveland. I think that they'll be fine. 49ers versus Chargers. The best player on the field for the 49ers defense was former first-round pick Reuben Foster. He used his superior athleticism to make plays in pass coverage, run defense, and rushing the passer. Foster's speed is an absolute weapon that is not often replicated at a linebacker position in the NFL. Let's not take that away from him, but Exum with an essential pick 6 on Rivers for the second throw in the game was huge as well. Offensively, Beathard had unlucky interceptions. Besides Kittle, couldn't really do too much. San Francisco missed a field goal and 2 extra points. That's the difference in the game. They could have won. Kittle with 6 receptions, 125 yards, 1 touchdown, no rushing game going on there. Lots of pressure from the Chargers defense. Got to give credit to them. They showed up big. Trevor Williams with the interception returned 86 yards and recorded 8 tackles. Derwin James with 7 tackles, 1 for a loss, 1 sack, 2 pass deflections, 3 quarterback hits. He's doing his thing as a rookie, continuing to do it week in and week out. Also, Chargers offense went through Melvin Gordon. Let's give him the credit. 15 carries, 104 yards, and 7 receptions for 55 yards and a receiving touchdown. Rivers to Gates was a cool thing there. They recorded 88 touchdown connections. On to the next game, Seahawks versus Cardinals. Running back Mike Davis was given the bulk of the touches for the first time this season, and he did not disappoint. He took that opportunity and showed them that he belongs. He showed excellent vision. He often plowed through all kind of contact. Davis topped the 100-yard rushing mark for the first time in his career and doubled his career touchdowns coming into this game. He was 21 carries for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. Very impressive. Shout out to you. Defense played pretty good, but suffered a major loss, as you know, in Earl Thomas. And this is a huge discussion because this is the reason why Le'Veon Bell is holding out the way that he is, because bless his heart, Earl Thomas came to play and always comes to play, and then this happens. And, we're not even going to get into that. But prayers to Earl Thomas. I know your comeback is going to be amazing, as it always is. As far as the Cardinals are concerned, I think it's a pretty positive outlook going forward with Rosen at the helm. There was just lots of dropped balls and the missed field goal there. Next game, Saints versus Giants. 4 field goals in the first half. We got to the red zone and just could not score. They were killing us in the first half. Janoris Jenkins was covering Michael Thomas pretty damn good in the first half, which didn't help our case. There were big drops in the red zone for us as well in the first half. I thought it was really exciting to see the fake punt from our own 32-yard line that early in the game. Hill to Hardy, super ballsy, super impressive. I loved the play call, but we just couldn't capitalize on anything in the first half. We couldn't do anything. We were dropping balls in the red zone, and we were 1 of 7 on 3rd downs. Horrible. So great red zone defense to the Giants. Got to give them credit, for sure. However, tale of 2 halves is how I like to call it. Second half was a different story. Converting 3rd downs for the Saints, scoring in the red zone, 97-yard drive, ending with a huge touchdown run by Kamara to seal the game. There were 3 rushing touchdowns by him, ties the team record, and these were in the second half alone. He leads the league in scrimmage yards. Kamara leads the NFL with 611 yards from scrimmage, somehow still ranking only 3rd in receptions and 7th in rushing yards. Still killing it. Impressive. I think people would take him over anybody at this point in the game. This guy is just an intangible. This guy cannot be touched. He can't be tackled. He's just so elusive. He's great. I am so happy we got him. Anyways, on to the next amazing guy. Michael Thomas. Efficiency still remains unbelievable. He caught all 4 of his targets for the day and has now hauled in 42 of 44 targets on the season. That's very impressive. Also, I'm pretty excited about our backup quarterback. What an athlete. He led in receiving yards with 3 catches for 63 yards, and he's coming in on trick plays and doing all kind of fun stuff. I'm just loving it. As far as our defense is concerned, we did a little better. P.J. Williams had a forced fumble, which we know he was exposed last week, so that was nice to see him, contributing. Marshawn Lattimore with a recovery in the scoop on that fumble. But honestly, will we ever see the lockdown Marshawn Lattimore from last season, the Defensive Rookie of the Year? He's nearly halfway to his yards allowed total from a season ago already in just these few games. So, big problem there. Hopefully he can shake back to it. Sheldon Rankins was very impressive on the defensive front for the Saints. Also, Davis for the Saints. He had 2 sacks. And the defense overall, to me, is just doing a lot better, so I'm excited to see that going forward. The Giants haven't put up 30 points on offense since 2016, guys. And you would have thought, given how the Saints defense is like shaky this season, that it would have been like an offensive like show out for this game, like both teams scoring high, but it wasn't. And honestly, like, the Giants have too many offensive weapons for this to not be happening. Landon Collins showed up for big on the Giants on both running and passing, and was a big reason why the Saints offense was in check for the first 3 quarters, that's for sure. So on to the next game, Ravens versus Steelers. Flacco had plenty of time in the pocket to make sound decisions since Pittsburgh's pass rush is pretty much no threat right now. The running defense was pretty good until the end with the touchdown run. They had held him previously to 10 yards prior to that. John Brown was the receiver that stuck out for the Ravens. He was 3 receptions, 116 yards, and a touchdown. And Ravens defense with Suggs and Tim Williams only allowed 19 rushing yards and baffled Big Ben in coverage, forcing interceptions and bad throws, and clearly still no rushing game. Again, they are missing Le'Veon Bell. I love you, Connor, but it is what it is. So, going forward, Monday Night Football, Kansas City versus Denver. Mahomes is the man, if you haven't figured that out yet. Okay, he is just absolutely incredible. He continues to blow our mind each and every week. This week, we're learning that he's apparently ambidextrous. He threw for 28 of 45, 304 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 rushing touchdown. He hit 7 different targets. Kareem Hunt was 19 carries, 121 yards, and a touchdown. And Kelsey with 7 receptions, 78 yards, and a touchdown. Like I said, he spread it out to 7 targets. So Kelsey was the lead receiver at 78 yards, but that just goes to show you how many ways he spread it out, which is very impressive. Casey Murray with that great pick, incredible athletic play, which we'll see here in just a second, where he pretty much just stripped it. Very Honey Badger-like. Von Miller did as good as he could with a slippery, scrambling Mahomes. And Denver, honestly, their issue is that they abandoned the run game, which was successful going in the first, half, and then just down the line they stopped, which doesn't make any sense to me because don't fix what's not broken, Anyways, incredible performance by Mahomes. We'll see a couple of his highlights, his impressive ambidextrous left-handed throw to get the first down to Hill in just a minute here. But that's enough. All of week 4 games recaps and what we took from each game. Going forward, let's get into the best individual performances. At quarterback, I have Goff, of course, 26 of 33, 465 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. He had a career-high game. He set all kind of records. Mahomes, 28 of 45, 304 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 rushing touchdown, no interceptions, which, by the way, Mahomes hasn't thrown an interception at all this season, which is crazy. I think he's had like 14 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions, which ties somebody from like 1990 or something. I don't know. Trubisky, 19 of 26, 354 yards, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, career high game, setting records there as well. Deshaun Watson, very composed in his 29 of 42, 375 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, but he willed his team to win with composure for their first win. Mariota, 3 of 43, 344 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Bortles, 29 of 38, 388 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And Carr, 35 of 58, 437 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, which were arguably his fault. Wide receivers, we had lots of wide receivers doing their things this year. We have Kupp, 9 receptions, 162 yards, 2 touchdowns, his career best game. Cooks, 7 receptions, 116 yards, 1 touchdown. Woods, 5 receptions, 111 yards, and a touchdown. So that trio is dangerous over there. Corey Davis for the Titans, 9 receptions, 161 yards, which was his first career touchdown and just career-setting game period for him. So shout out to him. John Brown, 3 receptions, 116 yards, and a touchdown. Amari Cooper, 8 receptions, 128 yards, a touchdown. Jared Cook, 8 receptions, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns. D.D. Westbrook, 9 receptions, 130 yards, with Moncrief on the other side. 5 receptions, 109 yards, and a touchdown. Alshon Jeffrey coming back, 8 receptions, 105 yards, and a touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins, 10 receptions, 169 yards, and a touchdown. And Kuti, 11 receptions, 109 yards, stepping in nicely for him. Mohamed Sanu and Julio Jones, 6 receptions, 111 yards, and 9 receptions, 173 yards for Jones. Taylor Gabriel, very impressive performance, 7 receptions, 104 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Adam Thielen and Diggs, of course, with 8 receptions, 135 yards, a touchdown, and Diggs with 11 receptions and 123 yards. At running back, I'm going to go with Todd Gurley, of course, 160 total yards for 73 receiving and a touchdown, and 17 carries for 83 yards with rushing. Kareem Hunt, 19 carries for 121 yards and a touchdown. Nick Chubb, Chubb, I don't know which Chubb it is, honestly. Three carries for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rookie debut for him, doing great. Alvin Kamara, 3 rushing touchdowns just in the second half. Ezekiel Elliott, 240 total yards, 25 of 152 rushing, and 4 of 88 on receiving with a touchdown. And Mike Davis, 21 carries for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. Can't forget about Lynch, 157 total yards, 20 with 130 rushing, and 3 for 27 receiving, running hard and mad. Cohen, 174 total yards, 53 rushing, and 121 receiving with a touchdown. And, of course, Sony Michel making his debut with 25 carries, 112 yards, and a touchdown. At defensive back, the people that stuck out to me with Murray, with his 6 tackles and that very nice interception. Derwin James, of course, 7 tackles, 1 for a loss, 1 sack, 2 pass deflections, and 3 quarterback hits. Trevor Williams with his interception return, 86 yards, and recorded 8 tackles. Conley with his pick 6. As far as defensive end, you tackle Aaron Donald, 5 tackles, 3 for a loss, 2 sacks, and 4 quarterback hits. Myles Garrett, 9 tackles, 2 for a loss, 1 sack, and 2 quarterback hits. And J.J. Watt with 4 tackles, 2 for a loss, 2 sacks, and 3 quarterback hits. At linebacker, of course, the Mack attack. Khalil Mack, forced fumble and sack again. He's recorded one of each in each game this season. He forced a fumble on a strip sack and caused the second interception of the game when hitting Winston as he threw. Darius Leonard, previously the AFC Defensive Player of the Week a few times, and honestly of the month at this point. 13 tackles, 2 for a loss, 1 sack, and a quarterback hit for him. As far as teams defensively as a whole, who stuck out the most to me? The Rams with 4 sacks, 10 tackles for a loss, 7 pass deflections, 8 quarterback hits, and a fumble recovery. Chicago with 4 sacks, 7 tackles for a loss, 6 pass deflections, 7 quarterback hits, and 3 interceptions. Titans, 4 sacks, 9 tackles for a loss, 2 pass deflections, 11 quarterback hits, and 1 fumble recovery. The Texans with 4 sacks, 9 tackles for a loss, 7 pass deflections, 11 quarterback hits, and 2 fumble recoveries. Colts, 7 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, 2 pass deflections, 11 quarterback hits, and 1 interception. The Ravens, they had a sack, 4 tackles for a loss, 10 pass deflections, 2 quarterback hits, 1 fumble recovery, and 1 interception. The Chargers with 1 sack, 3 tackles for a loss, 9 pass deflections, 9 quarterback hits, and 2 interceptions. And the Patriots with 2 sacks, 4 tackles for a loss, 3 pass deflections, 5 quarterback hits, a fumble recovery, and an interception. Offensively speaking, definitely the Rams. They were record day for them, for Goff and Kupp. 3 receivers over 100 yards, Gurley over 100, no interceptions. Chicago, record day for them, 6 touchdowns. Gabriel and Cohen doing their thing, both over 100. They hit 5 different touchdown targets. Texans, Deshaun looked really good and composed. He had hit 2 receivers over 100. Jaguars, record day for them, 2 receivers over 100, and they still did good without Fournette. Raiders balanced the run and the throw with Lynch and 2 receivers over 100. As far as the best rookie performances, I'm going to go with Chubb, 3 carries for 105 yards, 2 touchdowns, and very nice long runs too. Darius Leonard, of course, we already talked about him week in and week out. He's just dominating performance. He was rookie of the month. Absolutely crazy. I'm excited to see his play going forward. Conley with his pick 6 was a standout rookie for me this week. Calvin Ridley, of course, like I mentioned before, his 2 touchdowns gave him 6 on the season, which is more than a lot of elite wide receivers combined. Sony Michel as well had his breakout game this week. 25 carries, 112 yards, 1 touchdown. And Derwin James at defense with 7 tackles, 1 for a loss, 1 sack, 2 pass deflections, and 3 quarterback hits. So, into our last segment of the day, the most athletic plays of the week. So the ones that stuck out to me the most were the Mahomes left-handed switch to Hill for the first down. Huge play. We learned he's ambidextrous, super athletic. Next one was Murray's pick. Was like honey badger-like. He just like straight robbed him. Conley's pick 6. Alshon Jeffrey's nice grab for a touchdown. Corey Davis's first game-winning touchdown. And Mike Davis is running, and with an impressive Russell Wilson blocking for a touchdown. Chubb's long runs, Zeke's impressive play, and also Jarvis Landry's amazing touchdown catch, per usual, LSU. And Barkley's diving touchdown made the list. Kamara's 3 rushing touchdowns made the list. Lynch's runs were very impressive. Antonio Brown's touchdown catch in good coverage was typical Antonio Brown. Tony Jefferson's strip touchdown defensive play was amazing. Royce's touchdown run, absolutely amazing. Yards after contact for him is crazy. And James White breaking Wake's ankles. You have got to see this. And Tyrell Williams' really nice touch and grab on a play. And Golden Tate's tantalizing touchdown run. So here's some clips of all of the most athletic plays in Week 4.
Man on the drag. Here comes Von Miller. Oh, how did he pull that off? He got it to Hill, and they've got a first down.
Joe, are you kidding me? Wow. I mean, this guy is incredible. You know, there's many years ago they talked about Montana magic in Kansas City. Look at this guy. Von Miller on his heels. He throws it left-handed any way possible.
He puts it in his left hand. Feel good about it.
Got it.
Great toss, but intercepted, is it? That was a heck of a play by Eric Murray.
Raiders break it down at 8. As Mayfield throws and it's picked off on the deflection. Darian Conley inside the 10, the 5, into the end zone, touchdown. There it is, a takeaway by the secondary and a score.
For the end zone, Alshon Jeffrey makes the catch. Is he in? Yes, he is. Touchdown, Eagles. Wow.
Alshon Jeffrey on the outside right there working against LaShawn Sims. They put Malcolm Butler away from him there in coverage. And we've seen them kind of match up down here as once they got towards the goal line. So good job by Carson Wentz.
Mariota rush. Open. Catch made. The Titans are going to win in overtime. Corey Davis. And Mike Davis will get the first down. And here's Russell Wilson blocking and diving into the end zone. No signal as of yet. Mike Davis had a block. Second and goal, they go to Davis. Fluker, just as you called it. And a touchdown for Seattle. They got behind, what, the 240?
First kick. First carry of the game for Nick Chubb. Chubb is inside the 30. 20. And he takes it all the way. 63 yards. The rookie out of Georgia for a Browns touchdown.
See the pulling guard, and you'll see the tight end come back the other way too, and all it does is give you more opportunities, holes on the other side of the ball. But Nick Chubb, big lumbering back, but look at him sprint for high.
As Mayfield gets it into the hands of Chubb, his third carry today. His first one was a big one, and so is this one. Chubb takes it all the way. His second touchdown. His first went for 63. This one, 41 yards.
But watch how shifty he is. You're going to see the penetration right through here. But watch the move in the hole, and then this cut right here leaves Eric Harris.
Here is Elliott going to run. Good hole. Elliott with a speed. Ezekiel Elliott out of bounds. Cool, but that's not the case. It's a penalty, and it's a big one. And now they're going to set it up to Elliott. Tries to get to the edge. Just so. Ezekiel Elliott on his way. Diving. Touchdown.
Goal. The fake to Hyde. Mayfield, end zone. Landry, touchdown. Man. Blind by Baker Mayfield here. Look at the route. It's a dummy. Yep. Little dummy, little okie doke. Just watch his feet. Came off the ball like he wasn't going to go out, like he was blocking.
Inside the 1. And hands it off. Barkley, look at that. Woo!
Did he soar? That is some serious hang time.
Gordon trying the left side, hit by Malcolm Smith. He bounces off of him. And Gordon still going, still on his feet. What a run from Melvin Gordon.
Four-man rush, Brady on 1st and 10. White, oh, good cut. He got Quinn to break his ankles, and he goes in for the touchdown.
Rivers looking for Williams, and a great adjustment for the catch. Tyrell Williams with a highlight reel grab.
6'4" versus 5'10".
Kelsey's in man on the drag.
Here comes Von Miller. Oh, how did he pull that off? He puts it in his left hand and shot puts it to Tyreek Hill for a 3rd down.
Up the middle. To the end zone for the Saints touchdown. Reeves gives it to Kamara. He's got a huge open. He's able to get past the secondary and take off for his 3rd touchdown of the game.
White clock is at 2. There's Lynch. Marshawn Lynch finally wrapped up by
Quick whistle.
Schobert. White clock thing. On 2nd and 10, the toss to Lynch. And Marshawn Lynch has a 1st down and more. Lynch still going. He's inside the 25, the 20, and finally tackled.
Our 2nd and 4.
Ben dancing, waiting, throwing, and the catch is made by Brown. Touchdown. .26 yards to Antonio Brown.
Because Ben Roethlisberger was able to buy so much time, double move, no problem. There he goes. Right over the top, really pretty good coverage, just a brilliant catch. But it's really set up by the ability of Ben Roethlisberger. Look at him, he's waving people down the field, comes all the way back. If I have this much time, I know 84 is open.
Joe, they run the toss sweep here. Watch Royce Freeman's patience right there to be able to wait to hit that hole and then just carry them into
Down in 3. Stafford throws far sideline. It's Tate. Makes a move. 1st down and more. Golden Tate on his way. Touchdown. Golden Tate, his 2nd of the year.
Look at him working in the slot against Jordan Lewis, and Lewis slips on the break. And once Tate possesses the ball, what did we talk about a couple series ago? When he catches the football, he's one of the best in the league at yards after catch. And look how he lined up Jeff Heath and then ran away from him and skips his way into the end zone for the 1st touchdown for the Lions.
Well, that's it for week 4 Rockies recap in the NFL. Hope everybody enjoyed. Hope to see y'all next week as I recap week 5 in the NFL. Have a good week.